Hello and very warm welcome to Dr. Ahmed YouTube channel. In the series of critical discourse analysis, this is going to be the second video in which I am going to let you know people how discourse is different from critical discourse analysis, and in fact we are going to talk about discourse analysis as a type of research methodology, how one can analyze critically the discourses which are present there. So let's enter into it, and first of all we have a type of definition of CDA. It says critical discourse analysis is a methodology that enables vigorous assessment of what is meant when language is used to describe and explain. Very simple. First of all, it's a methodology. It's a technique with the help of which one can go into research and analyze the data which is available. But that has to be done vigorously, not just normally, but in a powerful way, in a very concentrating way, and in a very vigorous way. And that means actually that language will be used in a specific purpose. Although all of us use language, but when language is targeted to be used in order to serve a specific purpose, at that time, if we discover that, it is termed as CDA or critical discourse analysis. How it is done, let us see. It is, first of all, it's a systematic way, as Fairclough said in his book, that it is a systematic way to explore. What to explore? Opaque relationship of causality and determination, that it is meant to discover some type of relationship or relationing between two things. If some cause takes place, what happens because of that? If one is involved to that, that person is doing CDA. And this causality and determination is also done between two forces. One is discursive practices and the wider social and cultural structures. If there are certain practices that some event is taking place, some text is being written, some practice is being done, what is the purpose behind that? What kind of relationship is existing between all these, and how cultural structures are going to be influenced because of that? In the same way, it also goes to investigate all these practices, events, and text in order to see how ideologically these are shaped and what is the impact of this ideology on the power relations and on the struggle against those power relations. If something like that is being done and we are going to explore that, this is called as the CDA or critical. Well, everyone knows that there's a relationship between the text and CDA because discourses are most of the time text, and everyone knows that we use language in order to develop text and in order to communicate to the people. So for the sake of communication, both things are necessary. Language is also required, text is also required, other speech acts are also required in order to inform the people, in order to make us understood at the wider level. We invent the text and the CDA as well so that these could be understood. The whole of the word therefore carries the meaning, and that is why always the development of discourses is done with the help of, or by keeping these things in view, that we need to fabricate in order to shape certain perspectives which we have in our mind. The text is developed according to that, and it is analyzed and understood accordingly as well. So text and CDA are very much related to each other. The creator of the text keeps in view how it will be received and interpreted, so that is why his discourse is like that. So text become very much important in the understanding of the CDA as a methodology. And similarly, some of the characteristics, therefore, would be good if we see how these arise and what are the things which are necessary. For example, discourse means a way, a different type of way in which communication is achieved. We have the discourses on the basis of sentences, on the basis of clauses, on the basis of paralanguages, or on the basis of certain text or pictures. These discourses are meant to convey something, to communicate something, in order to establish the type of active relation between reality and other things like that. So in this way, if somebody is involved into that, that person is developing a type of discourse which needs to be analyzed. There are three important characteristics of discourse which are very much essential in this regard. The first one is genre. How the things are being conducted. The second is the discourses, that is the thing which are being represented and what are the styles which are being used. Let us explain them separately. First of all, genre. In discourse analysis, genre is a way of manipulating and framing discourses. For example, church sermons, interviews, and political speeches. So genre is a type of speech what we do for specific purposes, sometimes politically, sometimes religiously, or sometimes simply interviews. So genre becomes very important because it provides a type of framework, because the audience will be interested in understanding that, and if he knows what is the genre being used, definitely it will be easy for the person to understand. It is the center of the power, it is the focus of the power, because of which one can understand the domination and the resistance. The domination is the way one develops a genre and discourse in order to influence the people, and what type of resistance is there on the part of the people who want to resist this. So in this way, the cycle goes on between discourses, representation, and resistance. This very crucial cycle, because everything like that keeps on happening in this world. Sometimes we are appreciated, sometimes we are understood, and sometimes we are not understood. But everything goes on happening like that. So that is the importance of the genre in the discourse analysis. And then comes discourse, which is important in this regard. Discourse itself, the center, all around. Discourses or the representation, which are very crucial, how apparently similar aspects of the word can be appreciated and understood from different perspective. It means that whatever things we develop, genre we develop, it has to be understood in different contexts in a different way. I mean, apparently it may be similar, but if the context changes, I mean, if somebody is a professor, somebody is a religious preacher, somebody is a politician, the context would change. That influence, that understanding, that resistance, that dominance will be changing as well. So these things, according to the discourse, should be kept in mind. Then comes the style, which is really very much important with respect to the understanding of CDA. Styles are the ways in which discourse is used to constitute a sense of being an identity, how identification is located. I mean, identity of one person who's delivering the discourse and the person who is imagining that the audience will be like that. Accordingly, the identity is developed through the application and manner of particular discourses, and for this purpose particular discourses are developed. For example, if we want that a particular community should be given preference, and we will identify it with preference like. And in the same way, if we expect that resistance would be there, how that resistance is to be quelled and how that is to be softened at that time, a particular identity of the discourse will be developed. So in this way, discourses have their own style with regard to their identity as well. And next comes three important analytical elements of study in discourse analysis. These are production, reception, and the relationship and everything like that involved into it. This is a type of interplay everybody knows. There are many political and cultural concerns related to that, and one is required to see what kind of influence and effect is going to happen on the audience and how they are assessing, how the discourse developer is using and understanding the resistance. It cannot be done in isolation. It's always done in intertextuality. That thing in my last video I had already explained, so there's no need to go into that. So these three stages, that is production, acceptance, resistance, these are very much important in this regard. For this purpose, you can go to my last video on discourses in order to understand. Besides that, I have copied these things in the notes of this slide, and you can go for that as well. There are certain discourses, according to Van Dyke, which are dominating discourses. For example, racist discourses, which are repeated in the British press sometime. By practicing these modes, one becomes divided into two parts, that is, we and us and them. I mean, most of the time, the dominating discourse would be saying that we are the people who are being dominated, and overwhelmed, these are the other people or them people. So these discourses are very common in post-colonial studies as well, and these have been very common in all England, where the migrants, for example, where the minorities, for example, were declared to be them, and the people who were already present there, the discourses were developed in order to show them as we. So in this way, the divide is created with the help of the domineering discourses. That is done by Van Dyke, as he says in 1991. CDA, therefore, on the basis of these things, goes to examine the form and structure and the content of discourse. So in order to analyze, one is required to go into the form, then into the structure and the content of the discourse. Grammar and words employed should also be seen, how these are being used. Similarly, the creation of the discourse and reception of the discourse is also to be seen. Who is created, who is going to receive that. The interpretation, when it is done on the wider level, what kind of interpretation is expected by the audience. Same is the case with the employment of verbs and pronouns and nouns. I mean, what are the words with respect to the verbs and pronouns which are being used, whether the pronoun is third or first, or verb is first or passive or active. In the same way, assessment is done on the basis of the content, the tone of the discourse. The content may be there always, but the tone of the discourse is different most of the time. CDA goes to help all these to be understood by the people. So in this way, the production and dissemination and consumption of discourse is also coming under the CDA. So that is the way how CDA works, and these are the things which are used in order to continue with that. So thank you very much for watching. Hope that everyone has understood about the CDA as a methodology of research, and hope to see you in some next video. If you understand something, do not fail to hit the like and subscribe button and put up your queries as well. If possible, I will be answering to them as well. So thank you for watching. Till the next time we meet again in some other video lecture.